Everyone, it's Dr. Hinkie here. Welcome to Biology 101. I wanted to update my walkthrough video for our classroom. Made some changes, the department's made some changes to the materials and the layout. So I know this can be pretty confusing since we are navigating between 3 different websites. If you want to think of it as navigating around a college campus, D2L is our classroom. That's our homeroom. That's where we would hold our class, where we would hold our lecture. So all the materials that we would use during the lecture, during class, are right in D2L. That is the main place where we go. Our lecture, our textbook, everything else can be found there, and all the information that you need to successfully complete the course can be found in D2L. So that is your main #1 place to go. And so let's take a look at our D2L. So this is our home page, and I'm seeing it the way you would see it. Up here you can see it's showing this to me as a student. So what you see when you log in, this is our home page, and you don't want to just skip through this, because each week I will post some course announcements. The college also posts announcements if there are any closings, anything that you need to know about that comes up, they will post it in here. And at the beginning of each week, a day or two before the start of the week, so usually over the weekend sometime, I'll post a message. So when you come on, you want to read this message. If you scroll down the page, you'll see there are some other messages that I had posted before the class started. Some important dates, some information you need to successfully complete the class, like where to get the lecture textbook and the lab manual. Little background information, contact information for myself and for Ms. Doty, who is your lab instructor. So some important messages. If you have not read those yet, do scroll all the way to the bottom and read back up. We have information specifically on lab, your lab assignments. In this week 1 message, you'll want to read through this, get the information to get oriented, know where to start, and every week we will post a list of your assignments here. I've broken down your assignments into daily tasks. This is not necessarily a deadline, but it will help you progress through the materials at a pace that you'll be able to keep up with. If you wait until the weekend to try to complete all the assignments, you will fail. There is too much work each week in a 7-week course for you to successfully complete and actually retain the information or understand it. So you don't have to stay strictly with this schedule, but you'll want to try as close as possible. As you see, I always recommend you break down all the work into bite-sized pieces. Bite-sized pieces for learning tend to be about 30 minutes. So what I recommend is on Monday, in order to complete Chapter 1 and Assignment 1, you spend 30 to 40 minutes in the morning, 30 to 40 minutes maybe at lunchtime or sometime in the afternoon or right after work, and then another 30 to 40 minutes after dinner. That will let you complete the assignment, but in small bite-sized pieces where you're more likely to retain the information and remember it. Your brain needs some processing time, so it's good to break down the assignments as we go instead of procrastinating and cramming. That just doesn't work very well, especially in an intense class like this. So this is just a schedule to keep you going. This is also reiterated in the course schedule that we'll come to in a minute. And each week I post a file with a list of the week's assignments, in this same format. So there's really no reason to miss any deadlines because it's posted in 3 places. Therefore, we will be very strict on the deadlines. You miss it, you missed it, it's a 0. So do pay attention to these. All right, so on our home page, you do want to always check the messages in the announcements. And here you'll also find links to the content. This is really the door into our classroom. Assignments, we don't really have any that you'll submit. This is if you are going to submit an assignment into an assignment folder here. Links to the discussions. So you can go directly to the discussions for each week here by clicking on that link. And as you'll see, I can go to all the discussions and link right to them. So if I want to go to a specific chapter's discussion, I can do it that way. If I want to go to a specific quiz, I can do it in this top menu. And then if you want to see your grades, you can click on grades. If you want to get in touch with a classmate, there is a list of everyone in the class. And so you can go in here, click on their name and email them directly. So I recommend you get to know one another. You can maybe find a study buddy if you see someone in the introductions that you have a lot in common with. Get together. It makes it more fun. And it's always easy to remember things, or makes it a lot easier to remember, retain the information if you talk about them, say them out loud. So you can use this top menu to get to some assignments. But where you'll really see everything is if you click on content. So when you come to the content, here's our table of contents, and it's got a list all the way down as we go. Right now, we only have 2 units available. We will include the remaining 3 units as we progress through the course. Things become visible as their due dates open up. So when you come into the content, first, it's really, really important that you do click on this Start Here tab and read all those files. Here you have a welcome video, which will be this one as soon as I replace the old video. You have the general departmental syllabus that tells you about the course. And then we have some specific links. Tech support is something you might need. Give specific links to the tech support or help desks for Connect, for D2L, for Respondus, for Top Hat. A lot of you have experience online with these, so you can help each other to troubleshoot. But if that doesn't work, you do want to go to tech support. We have links to your lab and lecture book. So again, this is our classroom. Our D2L site is our classroom. The Top Hat site, this is your lab manual. If we were in person, you would have a lab manual that you would physically carry with you to lab. You would read the background information. We would review that prior to lab. You would answer questions about the lab. You would record your lab data as we went through the experiment, and then you'd answer questions afterwards. You would submit this as your lab notebook. So instead of having a physical lab notebook that you'll be carrying with you and submitting for grading, you'll complete that portion of lab with the Top Hat site. That's your lab book. McGraw-Hill Connect is where you will go and complete the virtual labs. So the McGraw-Hill Connect website is like going to the physical laboratory on campus. So you can think about that being your laboratory. We also have lecture portions in McGraw-Hill. So you'll need all 3 of these sites, D2L, McGraw-Hill, and Top Hat. But here's where you go click on these links to create your accounts in there so that you can access those. After that, we have links within the classroom to get you to those sites. You'll want to read the syllabus. There's some important information there. Here, for the lecture portion, we have 3 documents. You will want to read all 3 of them. We have the lecture objectives. This is your study guide, right? These are the things that you must know at the end of each chapter. And this is what the exams and quizzes are based on. So you can take a look here and it gives you a list of things that you should be able to do by the time you are done with each chapter. Those are also broken down and head up each chapter's content. If you want to print them all out in one spot, that's where you can find that. There's information on earning weekly discussion points. There are discussion questions for each chapter. So most weeks there will be 2 or 3 sets of discussions because we cover 2 to 3 chapters each week. And this talks about how you earn points for that. It's not just answering the questions, right? This is not a one-on-one class. It's not a correspondence course between me and you. This is a learning community, and so within the discussion, this is where your chance is to learn from one another. So you should read all the materials and view the videos, and then answer the discussion questions. Then you should read some of your classmates' answers. Everyone's answers should be slightly different because you will put them into your own words. Don't cut and paste from the website or from Google. You will not earn full points if you do that. Paraphrase. Until you can paraphrase and explain what you've just read in your own words, you don't truly understand it. So it's important you paraphrase. But everyone will have a slightly different way to phrase it. And you may find that what one of your classmates says really helps you to understand. So read over each other's. This is similar to the peer review process in science, which before someone's paper gets published and released out into the wider world, their peers, other experts in the topic that they are researching, will review their paper and critique it. Critique doesn't mean just criticism to be mean. Critique means I am going to look for flaws. I'm going to go over this with a fine-tooth comb, and I'm going to point out where you can make improvements. The reason for that is because you don't want your work to go out to the broader world until it's at its best. So this lets you improve your work, revise your answers, make corrections, complete answers if you missed something. And the way you find out if you did that is by comparing your answers to other people's. If you see someone's answer is different than yours, ask them, where did you find that? Or here's where I found my answer, and I think you should look at this. So you can discuss this amongst yourselves in the classroom so that everyone in the class has the opportunity to come up with the best, most complete and correct answer. And that's how you earn full points. You do have to reply to at least 2 of your classmates with either helpful comments, you can help them to find a better answer, or you can help them by telling them where you found the answer, or by asking them, hey, your answer looks really good. Where did you find this information? So you're all going to help each other out in that discussion to form a real learning community in our class. But do know, you have to answer the question. You have to reply to at least 2 of your classmates. That is the minimum required. If you do the minimum amount of work that's required, you will earn the minimum passing grade. So if you want to earn higher than a D plus C minus, you will spend some time in these discussions. The more time you spend thinking about, contemplating, reading, and sharing your thoughts on these, the more likely you are to remember them. It's not busy work. This is designed to help you learn and remember the information. So you'll want to read this over on how to earn those points. Also in this lecture portion, this is perhaps your #1 most important document, the syllabus addendum. So our syllabus breaks down the schedule very generally. This document has some very specific requirements for our course, what your computer requirements are, what your assignments and attendance for our policies are, no extensions, no late work. We've got the deadlines written in multiple places in D2L, so there's no reason for missing a deadline. We do know emergencies come up, and so with a documented excuse, a doctor note, test results, some sick note for your child, whatever it is, your commanding officers, guess what? We had to get deployed. Documented excuses, we can have makeups, but otherwise it'll just be a 0 if you miss the work. So pay attention to the schedule. You'll want to review the honor code and pledge. If we suspect any sort of plagiarism or cheating, we will give you a warning, and after that you will receive zeros. After a second warning, it'll be reported to the dean, and disciplinary action will be taken. So just don't cheat is really the best strategy. There's a breakdown of the grades on here. And then finally, this you will want to print and use as a checklist. These are the lecture assignments, just like you found on the home page, broken down daily. You don't have to meet those daily deadlines, but you do have to pay attention. So all of our assignments are due by Saturday midnight. This gives you a Sunday buffer, a day off, a day to refresh, relax, regroup, or just go back and review the material, but the assignments must be completed by Saturday. Again, I recommend not procrastinating. That won't work well. In week 1, this gives you your list, and you'll see you'll need to watch the videos, read the chapter. These are all the learning materials. And then there's an assignment in McGraw-Hill. Then to chapter 44, read, assignment, start looking at those discussion questions and answering them. This will keep you on task. So do follow this. I do suggest you print it out and use it as a checklist to make sure you complete all the work. There is a similar addendum specific to the lab. So if you go to this next tab, lab addendum. And it's signed in to see this. The lab schedule and objectives are there. So that's where you will want to go to complete the work on your lab. Okay, so this is our classroom. This pre-class survey that's required. Here's where you'll find the honor code, the instructions, testing instructions and policies. And then this survey is really just to make sure that you've read that, you understand it, and that your Respondus lockdown browser and webcam monitor work. So that will let you give that a test run before you really need it on an exam. As you come down our content in our classroom and see the student lounge, many of you have already found this. We have links. The student lounge, this is for you to talk to each other, connect, say, hey, do you want to get together to study? Or where did you find this answer? How did you do this? Yes, Ms. Doty and I have access to this. We can monitor this, but we really don't. This is your room to go chat. I do check the Ask the Professor. Ms. Doty also checks this. So if you have questions that you think everyone's struggling with, everyone has some similar questions, click on here and post. You'll see some of you have already done that, or we've had some trouble accessing the Respondus tools and some other questions. So that's a just general discussion forum. We've posted our office hours when we are available to meet for extra help. And if those hours are not conducive to your schedule, we can just work to schedule some time when we are available to help you. Then we get down to the actual content. Here's where our classroom is. So under here, what you'll find, Unit 1, well, all of Unit 1 is covered in week 1, so it's all lumped in together in this case. So Unit 1, it tells you what chapters it includes and when the date the exam is. There's that list of assignments, of lecture assignments I told you about. Again, broken down the same way as it was on the announcements page, on the home page for the class. So another place you can print that out each week. And then many of you have already started introducing yourself in our first week discussion. Here's where you can get to know each other a little bit better and where we can get to know you. And then we have our content. So as you see here, we've got our week 1, read, view, learn. These are all our learning materials for this unit. So we have some reading, we have videos, a lecture video, And other helpful materials, supplemental videos. Those are not required, but if you need some more help, take a look at those. These tend to be shorter. And then a second tab that says apply your learning. This is where you have to do something, right? So links to the discussions are here. Your labs are linked here. You can go to the discussion question. And then there are links to the chapter assignments, in that list of assignments for the week. It's read chapter 1 and then complete the McGraw-Hill assignment for chapter 1. So those are right here. And then links directly to your quizzes. So apply your learning means you're going to do something with all the information that you got in the content section, the read, view, and learn. So here you see in the content, it's our classroom, this would be your lecture. Here's what the content here is going to cover. So this is your study guide right there. When I'm done with chapter 1, I should be able to do all of these things. Pay attention to the verbs here. You should be able to list 6 basic characteristics that define living things. List is different from describe. So make sure you can do what the verb asks you to do. Summarize. That means you need to explain and kind of incorporate all of these bold highlighted vocabulary terms into your explanation. So pay attention to these. This tells you what you should be able to do. So that's your study guide. And when you click on this, here are your learning materials. These are your objectives. There is a file that gives you some PowerPoints you can print out to take notes on. So you'll see these are chapter by chapter. So you can go through and see the images, take notes on that. So that's for you to take notes on. There's a study guide. You can also take notes there. There's a link to my chapter video lecture. And then there are some additional videos. These are short videos, just a few minutes long, most of them in YouTube, that can clarify if you're not certain about something. My lecture videos are like if you came to class for an hour and a half and had lecture, it'd be an hour and a half of blah, 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 right? Nobody wants to listen to an hour and a half of talking, and you shouldn't. Just like I said, bite-sized pieces. The beauty of online video lectures is you can listen to just section 1.1, chapter 1, section 1, and then stop, walk away, come back, start at section 1.2 and only watch that section in your next sitting. So even though these video lectures are lengthy, you do not have to watch them all at once. Tackle one section of each chapter at a time. It will make it much easier. As you can see, each chapter is laid out in a similar manner. And you can work back and forth between the learning content, my learning materials, and the application content. So you can jump to the labs. You can jump to the discussion, look ahead and see, here's the discussion on the first chapter. I'll answer that, then I'll go back and fill it in later. Each week you do have some reflection questions. This again, not just a time waster or something to do busy work, but this is incredibly helpful by making you continue to go back and revisit the material. So when you answer these questions, what was the most interesting thing? You'll have to go back and think about it. I might ask, how does this connect to something in your life, in your daily life? Ask how the week's lecture content connects to lab. And then I will have some metacognition questions most weeks, asking about your study strategy. What worked, what was helpful, what wasn't, what should I change for next week and how? Again, you will learn from your classmates. Someone may have a study strategy that was very effective that you'd never thought of. So this is a really helpful way to start looking at more effective, more efficient learning processes. I'll also email and post a success tip each week that presents some ideas for new ways to study. Right. So as you get through the week 1, unit 1 material, we'll come down and you'll see the exam. These links will open up as we get closer to the exam. A recorded review session for exam 1, reiteration of the online testing policies, and then the exam link will be included in here. When we get to unit 2, unit 2 covers a couple weeks, goes between weeks 2 and 3. And so material's broken down a little bit differently. You'll see chapter 2, same thing, but instead of having an entire week's worth of content, you'll have the content for chapter 2 and the apply your learning, the assignments for chapter 2. So the discussion and the chapter 2 assignment. The discussion, the chapter 3 assignment, and the chapter 2 and 3 quiz. So that's how you'll navigate through this site. When you go to the labs, you have a checklist here, and you have your objectives. It tells you what you should achieve during this lab. You have some links to videos, PowerPoint presentation, and then links to McGraw-Hill, where you'll complete the virtual lab, and to Top Hat, your lab manual to complete assignments. So you'll just want to make sure you go through this. So there's the link to Top Hat. When you link to Top Hat, let's take a look at our Top Hat. When you link to Top Hat, you will see this. This is not your class, this is another class that's already finished, but you do want to look over this using your Top Hat manual and read through this. Tells you how to use that. It's very quick, short, but will help you so that you're not just floundering around in here. And Miss Doty has more information on that in the lab portion of your class. The McGraw-Hill is the other portion, and what you will see when you go to McGraw-Hill is this. So here you'll have lecture assignments for each chapter. When you click on that, they can open. They have dates when they are set up. You don't have to go to McGraw-Hill because there are links right in the content. So in the content, under Apply Your Learning, where it says Chapter 1 Assignment, click on that link. It'll bring you right here. The other thing in McGraw-Hill, there's your textbook. So when you come to McGraw-Hill to the assignments, before you complete the assignment, you want to read the chapter that the assignment relates to. So this is how you will access. You can log into McGraw-Hill directly, or you can click on the link to the assignments and then open the textbook. Here's the table of contents. Here's chapter 1. There's this outline at the beginning of the chapter, so you can just go to exactly what you want to go to. And so as I said, break it down into bite-sized pieces. I only have 30 minutes. I'm just going to read chapter 1, section 1. So let's go here. And if I look at this, it tells me, here's what I should learn. You want to read this, learning outcomes. This will alert your brain. Here's what I'm really looking for. Here's the key information. And then section 1.1, lots of images, but really only about 3.5 pages long. You can sit down and master that and watch the portion of the lecture video that covers that in 30 minutes. And then you can check your learning at the end by seeing if you're able to do these. These reflect our course objectives very closely, so you want to do that. If you aren't able to do this without looking back to distinguish between an ecosystem and a population, list the common characteristics of all organisms, living organisms, and explain how adaptations relate to evolutionary change. If you can't do that when you're done, it means you need to go back to this section before you move on. Our course is progressive. That means concepts learned in previous units are built upon. If you don't understand them, you will struggle to understand subsequent information. So do pause and check your learning before you move on. And then once you've completed 1.1, you can move on to 1.2. So do these in bite-sized pieces. As I said, you will remember it. That will sit if you do it that way instead of procrastinating. In the long run, that will save you a lot of time because you won't have to go back and relearn everything prior to the exam. You'll remember most of the material and you'll retain the information a lot better. And that'll save you time in the long run. So really, bite-sized pieces. It's a lot. You know, it's a challenging course, more challenging because you're doing it in 7 weeks. But it can be done. You just have to be organized, stay on top of the work, make a schedule, and tackle the work in bite-sized pieces. And do know that Miss Doty and I are here for you. Whenever you need us, don't hesitate. Don't wait until you're too far behind. If you need help, we can set up some office hours to provide the help you need. Either one of us can help with lecture or lab. So contact us as soon as you know you need a little bit of help. That's what we're here for. All right. Welcome to Bio 101. And I hope you enjoy it. It's a really fun and interesting class. So I look forward to getting to know you all more in the discussion. Bye-bye.